Hello and welcome to the Human Frequency. We just got back from a very big gifting trip. It's one of the biggest we've done, although there have been many. This one was pretty significant. It was one of the more difficult ones we've done. It was a stressful place. We just gifted Silicon Valley.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal out there. Not just the fact that there was a lot of obstacles in the way, but just the energy, which is, again, is not something you can necessarily perceive. It's something that you just have to sense. But when you do tower busting on the scale that we do, you feel it. And sometimes it's really easy, or relatively easy. Other times it's pretty crazy out there. But on the flip side, you know that when you do it, you're packing a big wallop to the parasites. And that's ultimately what this is all about.
And when you say by easy, I mean, it's never exactly easy, but some cities are kind of a pleasure to gift because of the layout. Like, you'd be surprised, but I found Fresno to be a pleasure to gift because it was so organized. It's a very easy grid pattern because it's all about the mapping and the gridding and making sure you've covered your grounds. And in a city like Fresno, it was easy to know what we'd done. In a city like San Francisco, well, it's the whole Bay Area. It's not just San Francisco. It's a huge urban area. You've got Oakland, Berkeley, so many other towns up north. And then you've got the whole South Bay, which I had not delved into much in my life. And as far as gifting Organite, we had only done a cursory amount in the area. So this was a chance to learn a new area, a very confusing area. I can't say any part of the Bay Area was anything but confusing. So it makes it hard to drive. There's a lot of DOR. It's not intuitive for drivers. I mean, if you're from LA, it's extremely unintuitive up there. So you have to get used to a whole new way of a city being organized. It's a lot to think about.
Well, I think when I say easy, I mean relatively easy.
Yeah, San Diego was nice.
Right, but for example, gifting in the countryside is easy because you're just tossing out of the car, and it's not like you have to stop and back up and navigate through a maze of people and annoying things. It's just it's a whole different thing.
Well, let me add though that one of the easy places that you're referring to was the Central Valley, and that was when we got followed really close by a craft of mysterious origins. So even the easy places can hold great obstacles and unique situations.
Great challenges.
Exactly. But we want to thank everybody who's helped us get to this point with all the gifting we've done. Thanks to everyone who's supported our work. Without you, we wouldn't be able to do these types of large gifting trips. So if you do like what we do, please visit our website. Check out what we do. You can learn how to make Organite. If you want us to be able to keep gifting, then please help us with a donation or visit our shop. Every little bit helps. It takes a lot of effort to do these trips. So we want to thank everyone who helped us because otherwise Silicon Valley would still be filled with the amount of evil it had when we got there. It still has a lot of evil people and evil industries there, but at least we put a big dent in the DOR problem.
Yeah, hopefully less now that that's been taken care of. But we did notice significant, not so much visible DOR, but just we'll get
into it. There's a whole human element to it there too, and a parasitic element as well, non-human, being that it is the Silicon Valley, the home of the tech industry.
That's right. And again, gifting on this scale it's not just very time consuming, but it's also very expensive. Yeah. So it's important that if we want to gift on this scale, we need to be able to continue getting the support that we've been getting. So I want to thank you all for that as well. It's been very good for us.
Well, before we went on this gifting trip, we had a little event we went to in LA just to kind of, get our energy up and feel good before the gifting trip.
Yeah, we saw Steve Roach, our favorite musical artist, ambient artist, playing at a church in Pasadena, which was certainly an interesting venue. And we saw him at about this time last year in Santa Fe, and it was absolutely brilliant. Not just his performance, but just the whole ambiance of the venue and just the city of Santa Fe in general and the people that were there. It was very nice.
Yeah, it was really nice, and that's actually a really high OR city. But we gifted it anyway. I know it's been gifted. I'm sure it's been gifted by a few people because I know some people there that have our Organite. But we went ahead and gifted it, and we just had a great time there. But in LA, it was a little different. I think that Steve Roach did an amazing show. It was beautiful.
Well, we have talked before about what it's like going into LA.
That was the issue.
We live about 2 hours north of
Yeah.
of LA proper. So when we go in, it's pretty much like we're entering a really it's not unlike gifting. Yeah, we're
entering the lair of evil.
very high
Babylon.
DOR and EMF environment, and dealing with the people, it gets
Aye.
worse and worse and worse.
Every time.
Yeah, so this time, of course, was no exception, but we figure we're going to this venue. Maybe there'll be some intelligent individuals there.
We were searching for intelligent life on Earth.
Yes, and a fruitless search, I might say. It was pretty crazy. Like you said, he just did a brilliant performance.
He always does.
He always does, but
It's very life-affirming music. It's high OR music. This is the music that gets your energy level up. It makes you calm and gives you energy, like orgone energy.
But the people attending the show, and of course this has nothing to do with Steve or his work, but the people attending the show were just unbearable to be around, and just in so many different ways.
I was actually surprised by that because his music is so life-affirming. It's so calming for the mind. It's so meditative. I was actually surprised because in Santa Fe, I guess Santa Fe people are a little different than LA people. I don't know. Maybe the city attracts a more calm group of people, a more spiritual group of people. But in Santa Fe, it was such a perfect experience. The audience was so respectful and everybody sat down. It was a small venue. But in LA, nobody could sit still. They had no concentration. People were talking over him. You can't really talk over this music. This is music to just zone out on, you know? And it was just, everybody was on a smartphone. I mean, they couldn't put them down. Everybody around me was constantly picking up their phones. So there was all the annoying lights of the phones and the headache inducing energy, which we alleviated a little bit by bringing a lot of Towerbusters. Like we had a couple in our pockets and we were wearing our pendants, and so we did what we could, but you can only take so much. So there was a huge bucket of them in the car outside of the venue, so I hope that helped. As far as it goes, some people's cell phones hurt my head more than others, and I've learned that it's the DOR of the individual feeding off of it's a feedback loop. So,
but this was not just people taking phones out to take pictures of him on stage. There was that too, but we're talking
just
about
texting,
people,
random chit chat.
Exactly.
I mean, it was ridiculous.
And there's no place for that in a concert.
Actually, I was just thinking how amazing the energy would have been in there if everyone's phone was off. It would have been a completely different environment. But it was very LA. I mean, most people in LA are not from LA. People who are from LA are a whole different breed. And I really love LA people. Most people in LA that give it its bad reputation are just people who move there because they want to party. So that's the atmosphere, you know, and you get a lot of people who are just out for a good time, cannot focus on something as meditative and intellectual as Steve Roach's music. So it was just difficult being around all the distracted hipsters.
Yes. And the thing I want to point out here is that if you're just walking around in LA at any given time, the DOR addiction is kind of diffused because there's just so many people, and of course they're all DOR addicts, but it's you don't notice it as much as when you're in an enclosed space like this, and there's something that people have to respect and be silent for, relatively silent for. Yeah. It's you can start to see the people they kind of squirm in their seats.
They're
it's
addicts.
It's like a nicotine addict,
or even worse. I mean, they're like junkies.
It's like
their skin is crawling.
It's like someone who's gone a while without a fix, and you can start to see the visual signs of, I really need it bad, like that kind of thing.
Well, Gabe, you had an interesting theory on how the OR energy of the music was affecting the DOR addicts on their cell phones.
Well, that theory is based primarily on the fact that Wilhelm Reich, when he was doing his desert experiments in the 1950s, he would use small amounts of nuclear radiation, isolated nuclear radiation, to agitate and excite the orgone energy of the Cloudbuster, his device that he was using to end drought and regrow plant life and bring rain into the Arizona desert. And based upon that reaction, I just kind of had a brainstorm randomly, and I just thought, well, maybe being around this type of music, and it is absolutely divine.
Yes,
music. It is totally channeled from the ethers. And maybe being around that does something to the DOR itself, and therefore to the addicts that are used to just bringing the influx of DOR into their own bodies and minds.
Well, it totally makes sense because we've noticed like the parasitic neighbors will move away. We were making a lot of orgonite, and we had these terrible parasitic neighbors, and they moved just months after we started making orgonite. And for people who aren't as infected, it just changes things. Like I know somebody who we gave a big pyramid to who had two neighbors that were fighting, and they stopped fighting because they had a pyramid outside by their apartment. So, it can have different effects on different people depending on the level of DOR addiction. Most people are DOR addicts. I'm sorry to say it because that includes everybody. And I mean, that includes me and you. I had to overcome my addiction to DOR. I didn't even know I was a DOR addict. I didn't enjoy it like most people do, but I was exposed to it all the time, and I had to energetically detox. And we did this years ago. I mean, we took the Wi-Fi out of our house 5 years ago. We've been on this for a while now.
So anyway, it's just a theory. We're just learning things as we do this work with orgone energy. Nothing is proven. Nothing, I don't even think, can be proven. There is only evidence. So just food for thought, I suppose.
Well, now for our trip through California into the Bay Area, we had many days of gifting. This was a very exciting gifting trip for us. It was something we had been looking forward to. We had an opportunity to stay up in the Bay Area for many days, so we knew this was going to be a detailed trip. So each day was its own special journey. And the first day we went through places we already gifted. So we didn't have to gift, but we got to just sit back and kind of look at the sky and see what was going on. And we went through Central Valley, and there was almost no DOR. I mean, it was very just a small amount on the horizon. You could see a little bit of smog. The sky was pure blue. There were no clouds, and there were no trails at all. It was absolutely pure. The interesting thing was there were no planes either. We were watching the sky for hours. That whole day we were just driving and looking around.
Well,
and
whoever wasn't driving was watching.
Well, yeah, I was looking around a lot, I think, that day. But
I saw it too. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen in that area before. At least
absolutely
since
different.
I started observing those things.
Well, we gifted that area back in 2015. So August, that's 4 years ago, August of 2015. We gifted the Central Valley for the first time. It was a huge gifting. That was our biggest to date at that point. We did about 300 Towerbusters in one trip, and it was just a few days. And that was the one where I mentioned the craft that went alongside our car. It was really weird. It was a low flyer. It flew over the field next to us. I've never seen anything like it. It wasn't a helicopter. It wasn't a car. It was above the ground by about 10 feet. I can never be able to explain what this thing was, but it flew up against our car or next to our car and then zipped off over the field and into nowhere. So, Central Valley, it needed that cleansing really badly 4 years ago.
It certainly did. And we would, with each subsequent trip up and back down, we would try and take a new route just to cover a new area. And there were plenty of towers on the new routes we were taking. So we knew that we just had to keep it up, and you just fill it in piece by piece. You can't do too much at once, but eventually you keep up the work and you get it done. And boy, the results.
The results have been amazing in the Central Valley. The DOR is significantly reduced. That was a very, very high DOR region. Valleys are natural holders of DOR, which is why people say, oh, it's smoggy in the valley. It actually is holding in deadly energy. And, it took a few years, but we've been back and forth over the Central Valley, and this is the best I've ever seen it.
So our first day, full day, and we got in the night of the 31st. Our first full day was the first. And such a pristine sky. I'd never seen. We were staying in Marin County, which is a little north of San Francisco proper, just across the bay. But it was absolutely amazing.
It was the highest OR I had ever seen that area. So what I'm seeing is everywhere we're revisiting. And we've done a lot of gifting in the Bay Area, too. If you go back through our archives, especially on my blog and also Best of Blog on the website, we've done a lot of work in that area. So the difference was definitely apparent from the last time we'd been up there. The sky was absolutely perfect and blue, and still no planes. I mean, there actually were no planes.
That was the crazy thing
at all.
And I was looking. I was kind of perplexed that night. We hadn't seen any planes until the evening. So I spent the day looking around, and there was nothing.
I don't know if it's so perplexing anymore because we've seen this enough times. I really don't think those are planes up there, and I think that when government actors tell us they're spraying us with metals, this is something I used to really believe. I think that we are just being told that, and that they haven't really backed it up. And I have a lot of evidence for why they didn't back it up. Just because someone has certain credentials does not mean they're telling you the truth, okay? And these planes are non-existent many days now. So where did they go? You have to ask yourself, the chemtrails didn't just go away, the planes went away. This is showing me that there's something interdimensional involved here, and that we can't just keep thinking it's the government, it's the government. We have to acknowledge that there are extra dimensional entities involved here on our earth. And I think a lot of people know that now. There have been spiritual attacks lately. One of our friends said that she was spiritually attacked. We've been spiritually attacked. So
many times.
There are dark forces out there, and chemtrails are just a visual clue into that world. That it's not the substance of the thing, and we'll get more into this stuff. Really, my book explains this in the most detail. That's why I'm trying to get it done. This is a spiritual war. Chemtrails are just letting you know it's happening. But when you see that not only the trails go away, but the planes go away, this is very, very telling. So anyway, on my blog site, I have many pictures of planes up close, things that we don't think are real planes, things we think are holographic, just based on how they look. So you can go through that and see it. And one of these days, I'll put together my UFO section of my site, but I haven't done that yet. So for now, just check the blog.
Well, the point is we just kind of have to suspend the dogma and get off the narrative of what other people say is in these trails, because
there's no proof.
It's just hearsay.
It is. And even the ones that are scientists, the fact is we don't actually have the technology to measure what's coming down from the sky or even to isolate those particles. So instead of focusing so much and being so scared of heavy metals, just understand any air pollution is bad for you, and orgone energy repels it. So, I mean, if there's heavy metal particles, you don't have to worry about them if you've neutralized the DOR sources. But if there aren't, really what I know is that there may or may not be, but what I know is that energy is involved, and it's a battle of OR versus DOR. If you're seeing a lot of persisting trails, and I'm not talking about ones that stop and start or puff up and then evaporate. I'm talking about like flat white skies. If you're seeing a lot of that, you've got a DOR sky, and it needs help. But what you need to also look at is the definition and texture of the sky. So there's a lot to learn about this. You can go to the photo gallery on the website and learn about that a little more.
Yeah, that's
because
useful.
You'll know the difference between a DOR sky and an OR sky, because sometimes OR skies are cloudy. A lot of time they are. It's a different kind of clouds, so it's good to learn the difference.
It's very important to learn the difference. So September 2nd, Labor Day, that was our first day gifting in the South Bay. We went right into San Jose. Mm-hmm. We started with the freeways because that's just, it's good to, the freeways are laid out in a way.
Easier than the city streets.
Yeah, they're laid out in such a way, usually, that you can gift and just do kind of a preliminary grid with just that, and then you can get off the freeway and start doing the streets. So we did the freeways first, the major freeways in the area, and Thanks to AAA, you now know the way to San Jose.
Yeah, we gift with maps, and that's the way to do it. GPS is a great way to be tracked and energetically attacked while you gift. So we not only recommend, but we insist you turn that thing off when you gift. Well, for your own good. If you don't want to listen to me, then you could experiment around and see what happens. If you want to know, I mean, I've experimented on myself before too with DOR just to see what happens, or by accident. And I've learned every time that when you forget to turn those things off, oh, you really pay the price. So when we gift with maps. We have a new technique we started up in about 2 years ago when we were gifting Las Vegas. That was a huge one. That was actually like as big as this. But I have to say Las Vegas was much easier to gift than the Bay Area just because of the layout. But when we did Las Vegas, we came up with the idea that, hey, you know what? We got to start marking the maps. And so ever since then, we've been using our AAA maps and marking with highlighters everything we've done. And I'm meticulous about it. I mark every street. That way we know what we've done, and we can be more efficient, because it's very important to spread out the organite as much as possible. I don't want to redo a place when another place hasn't been done yet. So that's how we're doing it, and that's what we did in San Jose. I think we gifted about 100 TBs on the first day. in that area.
Absolutely. And, LA, we both know. So when we gifted there, when we still lived there, we pretty much had it in our heads.
You remember.
You lived in Portland for 8 years, so when we gifted Portland, you kind of had your mind to rely on. But in a city where you don't know where things are, you got to have that map. So this was really important in Vegas, and it was equally important here. We started gifting, and it was just, I felt it.
You could feel it. You couldn't see it because the skies were pristine. I mean, there was nothing in the sky.
That's the crazy thing. What I was seeing and what I was feeling were two completely different things, and it caught me off guard just a little bit. I expected to see a lot more visual DOR than I did.
Well, it's different over there, and I have to say that the energy of that area and the evil there, it's a very cleaned up, kind of whitewashed, sanitized evil. You don't notice it. It's all. It's the tech industry. These seem like good jobs. They seem like, you can get ahead here. You can have a good life here, make a lot of money, and everything's clean and tidy. But, in LA, the evil is from the Hollywood industry. It's all on the surface. There's satanic imagery everywhere. TV shows like Lucifer, big billboards for this stuff, one eyes everywhere. So in LA, it's pretty obvious. They don't hide it. But in the Silicon Valley, the evil is very well hidden because the parasites live there. The ones from They Live there. So they do want to keep it under wraps. They want to live well. I mean, they have very expensive houses there. It's very clean and tidy, and they want to keep it that way. They don't put it out in the open there. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a weird energy. We actually had to do it. We had to do that city more than once. We couldn't just do it in a day. It was a huge area. It's the third largest city in California.
I did not know that until you pointed it out.
I would never have guessed.
I never would have. Yeah, San Diego? Hello?
That's what I would have thought. But
apparently not.
Well, we went back again the next day to San Jose. And that morning there was a marine layer. That's an energetic transmutation. They call it June gloom sometimes in LA. This one burned off really fast. It evaporated really quickly. But I know that the Bay Area is known for fog, but there's a reason for fog. And fog is an energetic transmutation. It's an OR transmutation close to the ground. And this is something that we discovered in the course of our work. Meteorologists always give you some reason involving heat or cool air or something like that, but they never talk about the energetic reasons. And nobody really thinks about it because San Francisco's by the water and everything, but every day we were there was a DOR transmutation. We saw the flat kind of DOR early on in the morning on the horizon over the city, and it turned into fog very quickly. So the DOR transmutes, and then all that flattened out water vapor that's positively ionized, it can then cohere together. And that's what causes the fog, because the hydrogen bonds form. And then you've got all this spread out moisture coming together into low clouds.
Yeah,
and that
starts
causes the
to
fog.
gain definition. And that's what's so important to realizing what's going on above you, rather than just freaking out and saying how terrible everything looks.
Nothing is terrible.
No.
It's just OR and DOR. It's not terrible. It's not good. It's great. I mean, it's OR always wins. You just have to keep on increasing it because the parasites will always increase DOR no matter what. They'll always add it. That's why they did the 5G and everybody's so scared of the 5G. And all you have to do about that is not use it. But nobody wants to do that. Everybody wants to use it and not be hurt by it. You have to make your choice. Don't bring it into your house. Don't bring it into your pocket. If it's out there, who cares? Distance is your friend.
So day 2 in San Jose, with the freeways already done, we had to stay off the freeways and take surface streets and cover new routes. And this day we started doing that. We went through all those little towns between San Francisco and San Jose, like
Menlo Park.
Yeah, Daly City, Menlo Park, Palo Alto.
Daly City was a little rough, huh?
Yeah.
Nothing like Oakland, though.
Yeah, San Bruno. There's a bunch of these little towns along the way. Mm-hmm. And we just did a straight shot through and gifted what we saw. And that's the thing. We gift every tower when we go out there.
Every tower.
We don't pass anything by for any reason. If we see it, we make sure to bust it. If we have to go a little bit out of our way to do it, so be it.
If we have to go back for it, we do it.
But it gets done.
Yeah, we do what it takes. It was interesting down there because to me, it just looked like the South Bay of LA, and it's the South Bay of San Francisco. It looked just like El Segundo or Hawthorne. I mean, I wouldn't have really thought much about the difference. What kind of shocked me was that there is a difference. I mean, now LA is expensive, okay? But the Bay Area makes LA look like extremely affordable housing. I mean, it's a totally different environment. And everything looked totally normal to me. Everything looked the same as anywhere. It didn't look fancy. It didn't look special. But when we were in Los Altos and stopped in a Whole Foods for a pit stop, we picked up a couple of real estate magazines for the Silicon Valley.
Not because we're interested in buying.
We wanted to gawk at the mansions, okay? So we wanted to gawk a little bit, see what's going on. As you know, we do episodes about real estate. I have experience with real estate. Not that kind of real estate, but simple little properties that I had in the past. And I did property management and stuff. So these houses in these magazines were so over the top. And I was looking around me and nobody in the Whole Foods, like everybody looked like us. Nobody in the Whole Foods looked like they had any money for something like that. Maybe had a normal house or a normal apartment. But those people shopping in Whole Foods were not the audience for those magazines. So what were they doing there? My thought was, one of them was so over the top. We're looking at houses like $10 million and up. It was so over the top that I just said, no human can afford these houses. These are them. These are the houses for the parasites. The only reason they put this in the Whole Foods is to make us feel inadequate, to make us feel like we'll never have what they have, to make us feel low, small, and poor. So I didn't think those magazines were for anything other than programming, really.
And when we feel those emotions, they feed. Mm-hmm. So they're just generating food for themselves.
So instead of letting them feed, I just laughed at the realtors because some of them even looked like them. Like I was like, that's not a human. Come on. No human lives in that house either. So it's very ostentatious. It's actually really disturbing. And actually, one of the things that's really disturbing to me about the whole area there is the disparity between rich and poor. And that was very apparent because we did San Jose for a couple of days and then after that, we went to Oakland. So we saw the difference in back to back, and the disparity is pretty terrible. I'm thinking that people can't really afford the rents up there. I noticed that the rents there are way more than many people make in a month of income. I read when you were showing me about how in LA the teachers can't afford, it said something like 85% of teachers, I can't remember what it was.
85% of the average wage goes to their rent. Yeah.
I couldn't remember the exact statistic, but a starting teacher in LA can't afford the rent. And in San Francisco, they absolutely can't. They can't even get, the rent is more than the income. So I know that there's a problem there because no one can pay it. And then I noticed there are a lot of people moving into the area from other countries. And I think they can get the tech jobs because the U.S. education system is so terrible that people aren't equipped to do those jobs. So people come in from other countries to do them, and they get the high salaries and they can afford the rent. But obviously we've done something wrong. Well, I mean, we haven't, but whoever is supposed to be educating people in this country has. And anyway, there's really a shortcoming here because I don't think that anyone can get the jobs to make the money, and I don't think anyone can make the money. So I don't know how it's all gonna crash up there, but I'm sure it will. But we've failed miserably because we've got to the point where...
Well, not we.
No, we.
You have all
Me?
failed.
No. What I'm saying is that there's something going wrong here if people can't make the rent and they can't even get the jobs to pay the rent because their education isn't good to get the jobs. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, not that I would really want to work in a DORized hellhole coming up with new ways to ruin PayPal's user interface. But that's what goes on in San Jose.
Oh, yeah. I think we actually gifted PayPal's headquarters.
I think we gifted near it. Right.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing. They're in San Jose. Google's headquartered in Mountain View, which is right near there. All these companies, they're all just like they're clamped in there.
That's so interesting because I've had to write threatening emails and or letters to both PayPal and Google on different occasions.
And they went to those very areas, and we gifted them. See, you piss us off, you get gifted. That's the way it goes.
Well, when we were done on the 4th, we drove back through the East Bay on the way back to Marin County, and we gifted a part of Oakland we hadn't gotten yet by freeway. But the next day, we went into Oakland on the surface streets. We first did that back in January of 2018, and we did a lot of gifting in Oakland that day. And this time we went to kind of finish the job. I mean, we missed some parts. We had marked the map, so we knew what we did. And when we set out that morning, the skies were very dramatic. It was very high OR, and there were those brilliant white OR clouds against a deep blue sky. So the energy was getting really good. But Oakland really took its toll on us. It was literally the most scary and stressful gifting we ever did.
Well, the previous time we gifted Oakland, we gifted easier parts of Oakland. This time, we gifted Oakland.
We gifted the hell out of it. I mean, we went into some places where I thought that we were going to get hurt. I mean, it didn't seem safe at all.
I thought we could get a mirror snapped off of the car or something like that, or get the car keyed.
Oh yeah, it was.
That's
scary.
what it felt like. And when we were down the day before, we just read about these multi-million-dollar houses in the magazine. We didn't drive by any of these mansions and see a couple of millionaires playing tennis. No, when we drove near those places, but we didn't see them firsthand. When we were in Oakland, we were right in the thick of it, and it was
scary.
Yeah,
and we've been to Oakland.
I can't even really convey it.
No, I can't either. And because we've actually gifted like South LA and Compton by bike, and it never felt unsafe to me.
Oh, it felt like the south of France compared to this.
I know. So
and the roads especially.
The roads were very
what was going on there?
Poor, very very poor infrastructure over there, and the driving conditions were chaotic. It made no sense. The layout was poor. Oakland is a confusing city, poorly maintained city. Not that all parts were. I mean, we gifted downtown Oakland and some other really kind of nice parts of it the last time. I didn't even realize that the part we hadn't done was that bad. I thought, oh, Oakland's pretty cool. I mean, it doesn't seem too bad here. But this time we saw the bad parts, and it was really like a harrowing experience.
Yeah, and you can't say, oh, it's Oakland. Of course the infrastructure is bad because everyone's poor. No, the infrastructure the roads were terrible in Marin County, too.
Actually, in San Jose, too, down in the South Bay area, all the roads there were terrible. And I thought, where are all these tax dollars going to? I mean, aren't they collecting taxes for the roads? I mean, isn't that what taxes are for? Whenever you ask, why are we paying taxes? It's because of the roads. Everyone says, oh, the roads. Well, anyway, apparently they're getting pocketed and not going into the roads because the roads were terrible. And you wouldn't believe the tolls on those bridges. It's like $8 just to cross a bridge, and you have to do it many, many times. So, no, we don't have to, but a lot of people do, and it's very expensive. I don't know how anyone survives up there.
Surprisingly few towers.
Oakland.
That was the interesting thing about Oakland, is that we were taking a lot of straightaways, and I was looking around too. I'm pretty good at spotting towers, not to toot my own horn or anything.
No, you're excellent at it. You saw the first eucalyptus tower we'd ever seen. I never knew they made eucalyptus tree towers.
That's true. Well, that was many years ago.
Yeah, but you were the first to see one. I never even noticed those.
But I can see panels that they try and paint the same color as the building facades to try and make them blend in. I can see all of those, but it was very strange. I was expecting to see a city rife with towers.
Well, it did have a lot the last time. Those areas had a lot more than where we were. It's almost like the bad parts, the really bad parts of Oakland don't need them. It's a self-generating DOR there.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, because the people are very oppressed. And I have to say, there's so many annoying things about the Bay Area, and the whole liberal socialist ethic up there is one of the things that's super annoying about it, because you see, this is what socialism gets you. All of the guilty white liberals up there that are so sheltered and so comfortable in their little, cushy baby boomer Marin County houses. They really have it easy. And, if they think their votes really matter, and, not using a straw really, that's a new thing up there. Oh, not using a straw. That's going to save us, And
this could be the topic for an entire
So anyway,
show.
But it bothers me because people like that have no idea what it's like to actually be poor. I actually know what it's like to be poor. I've had periods of time in my life where I've had to live in really rough places and I had no money, and and then people will say to me, oh, you're just a privileged, white girl and you don't know anything. And, I've lived in all kinds of weird places and I've seen all kinds of things, and we go into the worst places possible when we're gifting. And I don't know how anybody can just think that sitting back and, voting for this guy and giving a donation to Greenpeace is going to make any difference, because there's people down there that can't even survive. I mean, they're barely surviving there. They have no money, and even the rents there are really high. Cars get broken into. Multiple cars every day are getting broken into in the Bay Area. And just the desperation in the air in Oakland was something you could feel. And I can't say I've ever lived that poor. I've had hard times in my life, but that was really an extreme that I can't even speak on it. I can say I've been around it, but I can't speak on it. I'm not even an authority on that. And so I don't understand how people who think that just by being a socialist and, voting for government programs and all this stuff is going to help, because ultimately I'm seeing that the division between rich and poor is getting worse and worse and worse.
Isn't the true definition of insanity doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result?
Yeah. And so nothing's helping, nothing's changing. And yeah, they might have a government program to help certain people, but at the same time, those people are becoming imprisoned in other ways. And by signing up for the program, they sign up for a whole lot of other stuff they didn't count on. And it's just, once you get in that system and you're working with the government and living off the government, your life is theirs, and so it's not like you have any kind of freedom anymore at that point.
You become ensnared.
Yeah. So, I'm definitely not about welfare. I'm about helping people. I'm about people helping people, but I'm not about the government doing programs for that, because most of that money just gets thrown out. Oakland's falling apart. So it doesn't matter if people are paying taxes for this and that. I'm not seeing it going to anything.
We're both about helping people, and this is why we gift organite.
Exactly.
And this was an extreme. Oakland, we had to stop after a few hours because it was just too much.
Well, we were very stressed out. Everything about it was stressful. It really is almost impossible to describe, because I know most people wouldn't even go there where we went. Most people would say, I'm staying away from that place. If you actually go in it and you have to keep stopping the car over and over again to go find hiding places for organite, you have to be really careful. You have to be really subtle, really careful, because everyone's suspicious too, because there's so much crime. So people around you are going to be looking at you like, what are you doing? So you have to watch your back all the time.
Right. So needless to say, Oakland is covered.
Yeah, it's totally covered.
We wanted to do a little more that day, but it's covered.
But yeah, if you look at the map that, we marked off our map, and it's basically done. So I could say Oakland's got a good amount of organite, DOR sources neutralized. I'd like to see some positive changes there. I think when the market crashes, a lot of poor people will get what they deserve, which is a house. That's what's going to happen. And, people who have way too much, if they lose something, they're not going to even notice it or feel it, So things will even out, not because of socialist government programs, but just because it's just what happens, it's just the natural way of things.
Exactly. It's built in.
Yeah. Well, we felt compelled that we had to go back to San Jose again. We were only going to do 2 days there, and we were going to spend the other 2 days in Oakland and San Francisco areas and just, closer in. But San Jose just needed it. The whole Silicon Valley area was just so evil. And like I said, it's just this under the surface thing, but it needed it. So we went back, and we actually went by way of Hayward that time on that last day. And what we noticed about that place, which was pretty cool, is that they have rejected Agenda 21, it looks like, because there were lots of old buildings, old signs. It was really cute, and I didn't see any of the stack and pack. Every other place we went had lots of development, lots of stack and pack going in, mixed-use sustainable development, where they cram you in there with stores underneath and
EMF nightmare.
And high rent, too. Those places are very high rent. And they would build them along rail lines. That also is very socialist. It's very European to build these structures along rail lines, so you can just go right from there to work. You go from one box to another, and the train takes you. You don't get your own car. Not that you'd want your own car up there because the traffic is so bad.
Right.
But
it fits right in with the DOR.
Yeah. So that was interesting. Hayward was pretty nice. They had a lot of cute old stuff there. And actually, that day the sky again was very, very clear. Very, very high OR. And as we went, it even just got better and better. At the end of the day, there were some little transmuting clouds. But yeah, it was a very, very nice day.
Overall, it was. Mm-hmm. And compared to what we were expecting, it certainly was a lot more pleasant. And again, relatively few towers.
Relatively few for San Jose. It was curious, but I can say that San Jose is covered. We did San Jose, so there's a couple of places I could say. Berkeley was already done. Berkeley, Oakland, San Jose, those places are done. San Francisco, we've done a piece of it. We actually did another little piece of it on the way out on one of the days of our trip, but San Francisco wasn't our focus this time. But that would be a great city to do on foot if you lived there. That's very, very hard to gift by car. We spent all day on it last year. We spent a whole day on it and only did like maybe a quarter of the city. It's difficult. But yeah, I could say that we have really covered the area now. And by, we say there are a couple more days, and by the 7th, there was a very, very big wind that just kicked up. And temperatures came down a lot. And what was forecast was they had to change it. It was much lower than they thought it was going to be. So things really got moving. The atmosphere was really moving. And
another thing I almost forgot about, there was at least a 10% chance of rain in the forecast every single day we were up there from the 31st onward.
That's true. There was.
Including past the time we were there. So you definitely felt the moisture in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it was messing up my hair. Yeah. I can tell you for sure because my hair was frizzy. So
we've had to change the forecast several times.
Well, we did just a little more gifting on the 8th in the Central Valley on our way home. That area is very well covered, so we picked one more little road that we hadn't covered and just took care of a few more towers. And we worked our way home. And, this whole time we were up there, there were no planes until that last day. We saw one holographic white plane in Fresno. That was it. I only saw that one. So something's definitely going on. We've had an extremely mild summer. Our summer's drawing to a close now. We always do gifting in the summer. It's a great time to do gifting. Long days, that's the main thing, and we have time to travel. So I noticed the summer was extremely mild. I think we're going to have a pretty cold winter. I think we're going to have a pretty rainy winter, but really only time will tell what will be the results of gifting San Jose. I think it was very significant. I do think it was a significant gifting. It felt like, at first I was kind of not thinking about it, but once we started doing it, I realized how big it was. At first it was just like, oh yeah, we're gifting again. We do this all the time, but this one was special.
Yeah, it certainly was. And again, not necessarily a lot of towers, but if you can feel evil like we did, it's a top priority to expunge that. Is that the correct word?
Yeah. Expel?
I just like saying expunge.
Because it's a sponge. Because it's sponge-worthy.
Yes, it's very satisfying to say. And yes, we cannot get through a single episode without at least one Seinfeld reference. Anyway, thank you for listening to this one. We appreciate your support so much, more than I can even say in words. Please come to our website, www.thekembo.com, and please find out about the work we do, the Organite gifting, and your blog.
Yeah, I got a blog, and that blog is going to be the basis for my book. And on our website, we have videos that will teach you how to make Organite, and I have a lot of detailed instructions. So read carefully, because on the Orgone Energy section, it'll answer a lot of the questions that you guys are emailing me, like about how to gift. We have a document up there, or a page up there, that explains everything you need to know about how to gift the most effectively possible to cover the most ground, save ammo, save money, and just really ORIze your town.
Yes, so please check it out. If you like our work, please come to our shop and get some Organite, or you can donate to us by clicking the button on the front page. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you again next time.